Hello and welcome to another video of the Lohan's Apprenticeships Insights. Today we're having a look at some apprenticeships updates together with some data. Let me start by reminding you of the different stages that the apprenticeship entitles. So for each of those stages there will be different people in charge or responsible for the delivery of that apprenticeship or that program. But for the purpose of today's video, I would like to take three main roles or three main actors that are going to be the training provider, the employer, and the endpoint assessment organization. Now, within the training provider, we got different people, starting by teachers or lecturers, who are the ones in charge of transferring all that knowledge, all that theory behind the industry that the apprentice is exposed to. We also go skills reviewers or skills coaches. We're going to be meeting them every quarter to see how they're progressing in terms of the knowledge, skills, and behaviors. And then we also got people in charge of checking, doing that quality assurance in terms of compliance. Well, now let's move on to the employer. When it comes to the employer, I think there are three main roles from my point of view. So we start with the line manager, who will be the person in charge of assigning the time to the apprentices. This is quite key in terms of 20%. The second person will be a mentor. This is the person that will lead the apprentice, will help in terms of finding further development. And finally, we look at the early careers or learning and development managers within the companies, who are the ones in kind of general charge of apprenticeships. So each of them play an important role in the delivery of the program. Now, if we move on to the endpoint assessment organization, we will see different people involved there as well, but mainly I think it's important to consider those who have participated on the creation of standards, going through the people that is in charge of providing any guidance for EPA, and of course the people that are assessing the apprentices, so those independent assessors. So the EPO is in charge of looking after the EPA. As you can see, there's many people involved, not easy to manage indeed, and I think this is one of the aspects that might be affecting how the apprenticeships or the results of apprenticeships in the recent years. This said, now please let me move on to some articles, extracts that I got. So I got some of my notes here as I went through a few of them, and we're gonna go through some data also. Please make sure you have a look at the links in the description box of this video, where you can find all these articles. So let me start with the very first one, which is that only came out this month from the BBC, where we can see that 54.6% of apprentices, they completed the program, which differs from the 67% that the government has put as a kind of goal for the 23-24 academic year. Now, if we compare this data with an article, or these numbers with an article that again from the BBC came out on November 2022, where we look at this, we can see that 53% of apprentices completed the apprenticeship, leaving the rest dropping the apprenticeship. It's quite interesting to see that there is only a 1.6 improvement since 2021, but possibly might be linked to what I have just described to you, the different people involved in the delivery of apprenticeships. And finally, let me reflect in terms of looking at these numbers, what can possibly be the future of the apprenticeships. And for this, let me just get the extract from an article that came out last month. Right, one of the institutes for engineering rating outstanding back in April, in an after visit, basically has decided to move away from the apprenticeship program in September. So that won't be delivered from September. Make sure you have a look at the links that I have provided and do indeed share your comments. All right, let's now then move on to some data specifically for civil engineering apprenticeships. As you know, this is the focus of this channel. So I'm gonna split them up. We're gonna have a look into the two main standards or levels that I have been participated on, which are level 4 and level 6. So let's have a look at this. We look at level 4. In general terms, we can see that the starts, so people starting the apprenticeship increased from 10 to 270 from 2017-2018 to the 23-24 period, having a peak in 21-22 with 350 starters. When it comes to achievements, we can see obviously the first 2 years will be 0 because this is how long the level 4 apprenticeship normally takes. Obviously was 0, and then we move on up to 80 in the 23-24 period, with a peak of 110 in 22-23. Now we can see that there were 1,460 people starting and 330 completed the apprenticeship. Again, it's something to consider indeed. Now let's have a look also into how inclusive this apprenticeship has been, so especially in terms of ethnic minority participation and gender. So when it comes to ethnic minorities, we can see that at the start there were less than 10 people part of ethnic minority, so that increased to 40 this year, with a peak happening in 22-23. When it comes to women, we can see that again it was below 10 at the start of the apprenticeship, reaching the peak in 21-22 with 50 women starting in the level 4 apprenticeship, and we're currently on 40 for this period. Now let's move on to the level 6 apprenticeship. So as we can see, there were 160 people starting in 2017-2018 compared to this period when we're looking at 610 people. In terms of achievements, we can see that went from 10 on year 3, after 3 years the apprenticeship started, because that's the shortest that this program can last. Now again, worth mentioning that there were 3,270 people that have started the apprenticeship. 80 of them have completed it so far. Let's also have a look again at how inclusive is this apprenticeship. So when looking at ethnic minorities, we can see that went from 10 to 110. When it comes to women, that went from 30 to 120 for the 23-24 period. Right. As you can see, there are some numbers that live there for you to reflect. From my side, what I should say is that I'm glad to know that a good number of apprentices that have been supported and actually part of the success rates or success numbers there. Indeed, there is work to do moving forward, and I hope this channel will help towards that. Indeed, we could be talking all day long about what can be done, but for that I'm gonna be creating videos in the coming weeks, so make sure you join me and make sure you subscribe to the channel and you stay tuned. All right, and finally, of course, remember that knowledge shared is knowledge squared. See you in the next video. Bye.